At 3 a.m. in the morning, I see a sport that I've never seen in my life, which is handball. This is the sport I was made to play. I say that's my path to the Olympics. When we have a dream, you become a greater version of yourself.
Ball across to Dylan. He double in flight. Oh, what a start.
Ooh, into the net.
She does it again.
Yes. And Magdeburg are the champions of Europe. Come up with something here. She has a game. This is across the keeper. What a comeback.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally time to talk handball again. We are in our series of summer episodes, and I can promise you today is a really, really special one. Not just because the guy that you already know that is already always there. He has conquered all of the handball world already. He has won it all, and his name, of course, is Víctor. Tomàs, how's it going?
Hello, guys. Everything is fine. Just. Let's say breaking my vacation for this exciting episode of the podcast. It's always nice to talk about handball, and always nice to be around good people.
Yeah, and today will be very much about handball because that is what this guy is actually trying to achieve. So all of those achievements that Víctor Tomàs already had, he is trying to accomplish because, I don't even know too much about his story yet. That's why I'm super intrigued into this in this podcast. He has some goals that are called Olympics 2028. Ladies and gentlemen, Lewis House, how's it going?
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me, and big fan of the show.
That is great to hear. But I announced you now as a dreamer, a big dreamer. US 2028 is big on your mind. What's the story behind it? You want to conquer the handball world. You want to become a part of the US national team 2028, right?
That's the dream. That's the plan. And I don't know about conquer the handball world. I'll never be at the level of Víctor because he is a legend in the handball world. But more conquer my dreams is what I'm going after. And handball has been the tool for the last 17 years. I think, Víctor, did you play in the 2008 Olympics? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So, Víctor, you are part of my dream, my starting of my dream, because in 2008, I was sleeping on my sister's couch. I had broken my wrist playing professional football in America and had a cast on for 6 months in this position, kind of a full arm cast. And for the next year was recovering from that surgery and injury that I had. And I was on my sister's couch during this time recovering, and it was 2008. And I'm watching the Olympics. Every year since I was a little boy, I would watch the Olympics in awe of all the great athletes and the stories. And I'm sitting there kind of depressed, kind of sad. My identity was tied around being a football player, and I could no longer play football. And I'm watching the Olympics, and at 3 a.m. in the morning, I see a sport that I've never seen in my life, which is handball. And right away, it just, something sparked inside of me, and I go, this is the sport I was made to play my whole life. Where has this been my whole life? And I just became obsessed with trying to learn more about it. But there's no information in USA about handball, especially 17 years ago in 2008. There was no information. But in that moment, I swear to you, I'm sitting on my sister's couch and a dream sparks inside of my heart. And I say, that's my path to the Olympics. I was a decathlete All-American in university, but the decathletes are so good in America. It was going to be very hard. There were some great world champions in my years that it was going to be very hard to get to the Olympic team for the decathlon and track and field. I was a football All-American, but there's no Olympics in football. And so I thought to myself, this could be the path. I started researching handball in America, handball in Ohio, which is where I was living, Columbus, Ohio. There's no handball teams in Ohio. And I start researching, and I find that there's some different small clubs in bigger cities around the country. But there's no information. This is 2008, Víctor. This is like, there's no social media really. It's like just Twitter, maybe Facebook, but it's not really available like it is today. There's no highlight reels anywhere. And the only thing I can see is on the Olympics. I'm watching this on TV at 3 a.m. when they're not showing, the big sports in America. And I was just like, this is what I was meant to do. This is my path. Fast forward, long story short, I'm broke. I have no money. But within 2 years, I start to make money. I start a business and I start saying, I need to find a way to get to New York City, because the New York handball team was the national champs for like 3 years in a row. Beanie, who runs the handball club there, has done an amazing job in New York City. And I end up moving to New York City 2 years later, once I start making some money to go live in New York City. And I show up to practice. First off, there was no information on the website. I can't call anyone. I can't email anyone. But they did have an address of where practice was. And so I just show up to practice. And I say, hi, my name's Lewis Howes, and my goal is to make the USA national team and go to the Olympics. This was in the first 10 seconds of meeting them. They all laugh at me. They all laugh at me because I'm the only American there. It's like 20 guys from 7 different countries. They're all speaking different languages. They used to play professionally and moved to New York City for work, and they still play for fun. They laughed at me, and they said, this was our last practice of the year. Come back in 3 months if you're serious. So I come back 3 months later, and I start training every single week with them. And within a year, I make the Pan American Championship team in Buenos Aires with the national team in 2012, I believe it was. And from that moment forward, I was hooked. I was just like representing my country, wearing USA across my chest, playing handball internationally became something I just loved and I craved. And I played with the national team for 8.5 years on and off. And all while I was running a business in Los Angeles. So I had a full-time business, my podcast, my books, my events were taking off. And I went to Leon, Víctor, 12 years ago to train for 1 week, 2 weeks. And I don't know if you ever played with Gonzalo Caru. He was there then. Juan Castro was there. Some other guys who are still playing, Juan Castro. And they offered me a contract for a year. But my business was taking off. And at that point, I thought to myself, it doesn't matter. I knew this wasn't going to happen, but I was like, it doesn't matter if I'm the best player in the world. If I come to Spain for 3-4 years and I become one of the top players in the world, which wasn't going to happen. But that didn't matter because I knew we still had to beat Brazil and Argentina as a team to go to the Olympics, to win the Pan American Games, because they only take one country from North and South America. Mm-hmm. And so I just had to make a decision right there. I said, unless the Olympics are in America, we're probably not going to qualify. Like maybe there's a long shot, but we're probably not going to go. And so the whole plan was, I was hoping for 2016 that USA would get the bid in Chicago. We didn't get it. I was hoping for 2020. We didn't get it. I was hoping for 2024. We didn't even get it. Then when 2028 came around, I go, man, that's going to be tough. When they made the announcement, it was 5 years ago, I think, which would have been 11 years away. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to myself, man, that's going to be tough because I'll be 45. Like, is that even possible? Is that even possible to be playing against 21-year-olds, 25-year-olds at 45? Do I have the stamina? Do I have the physicality? Do I have the patience to wait another decade to then continue to pursue this dream? And I thought I was done a couple of years ago. My last game was in Brazil, 2019, right before the Pan Am Games with the national team. And I thought I was done a couple of years ago because I tore my Achilles a little bit. I strained it. I was gaining weight. I wasn't in the best shape. And I was just kind of like, maybe this dream is over. But then I started to recover and I started to heal. And last year, right before the Olympics in Paris, I was just like, I don't think I'm done, but I need to go to Paris to see how it feels watching a game. And I'd been to the 2012 and 2016 Olympics to watch handball as a fan. But 2020, we couldn't go because of COVID in Japan as fans. And so I flew to Paris, I booked a flight, and I watched France play, I watched Argentina play, and a few other games. And right away, when I saw the game, it just like the dream was still alive in my heart. Now, Víctor, and I don't know about you, but in America, I was always told as a kid to chase my dreams to the very last moment and not live with any regrets. I don't know if that's the same mentality in Germany or Spain or European countries, but for me, that was in my heart and my soul. And so I said to myself, I need to take this all the way through to the Olympics. Unless something horrible happens or hopefully I don't get injured, but I need to show up as long as I can through the Olympics to see if it's even possible. And so I called Danny Gordo when I was in Spain, in Paris, and I said, "Hey, I want to play in Spain because my wife's Mexican. I'm learning Spanish. I like Spanish culture. I love Spain, and but I think I need to be in a bigger city than Leon because my wife is a big movie star. You know, she's a big movie star, actress. She's a big celebrity in Mexico. She needs to be able to work either Madrid or Barcelona." He connected me to the coach in Barcelona, and he was like, "Listen, we run a lot. Like maybe you can play on the second team right now and practice with us, but these young kids run a ton, and it may not be the right thing for you right now." And Danny convinced me to come to Leon to play a couple of months ago for a month. And I had about 8 months to really train and get back in shape to prepare to come back to Leon in Ademar a few months ago. I had my first month of training to see if okay, let's see if I can even just keep up and practice. And it was physically demanding. My body was hurting, but I improved. I got a little better. I got a little healthier. And as long as I'm seeing improvement, for me, it's still worth it. And even though it's 3 years away now, which still seems like a long ways away, especially Victor, when you're in your 40s, that seems like a long way away.
It does.
I'm trying to take it one day at a time, one practice at a time, one game at a time, one tournament, and just making these mini goals every year to work back to now, hopefully getting on the national team again early next year. I think in May is the next time there'll be a national team competition in America. And the goal will be to get back on the national team, then stay on the national team all the way through the Olympics. So that's part of my story.
I mean, listening to all this, it is very ambitious, from the very start, from laying on your couch in 2008 up until now where you're at, but absolutely not impossible. So the way that you describe it, it doesn't sound impossible. But I mean, Victor, now you have been out for quite some time out of the sport as well. And there's a lot more to your story too, with your health condition. But how difficult would it be for you right now to take the steps back into the sport?
Well, I think that to compete in the highest level, I would need to put my body in shape for at least 8 weeks. I think normally a pre-season that I used to do with Barcelona was 6 weeks, which was a little bit short, but we did, very, very tough first week, very tough. And then, then the next is just going down because the first week is so tough. But I think that 8 weeks would work. For me, putting my body in shape would be okay. For me, the most difficult part, I think it would be to get back my feeling with the handball in my hand, to get back this feeling of shooting, to make this soft shooting from the wing position, and I think that would be the toughest thing for me.
And talking about positions, that's a good topic too, because Lewis, we don't even know yet which position are you taking. But let's start way back when you were playing American football, because people are always joking about it. Oh well, if I would be an American football player, well, I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and we asked that a lot of football players. It's football, not soccer. We asked them that a lot of football players, when the NFL season starts, all of them want to become kickers if they would pursue an NFL career. How about you? So from which position are you switching to what in handball?
Yeah, I mean, I was a decathlete All-American, so I was always just well-rounded in a lot of sports. I could do, all the events well, but nothing like at the best. But in football, I was a wide receiver. And so I could catch, I could throw really well, I could run, all those different things. But I was a very physical wide receiver. I'm 6 feet 4 inches. I'm not sure what that is in meters.
That should be somewhere around 1.95 m, something in that
like
direction.
195, 197, something like that, yeah. And I'm 230 pounds, 225. So I'm not sure what that is in kilos, but
A little over 100.
so I was playing left back originally, but my friend Beanie, who was in the New York Handball Club, kind of manager, player, coach, he was always trying to get me to be the pivot early on. But I really liked to jump, and I wanted to score, and I wanted to throw hard. And so I was started at left back, but now I'm not jumping as high as I used to. And I'm trying to just maintain that level of longevity. So I'm moving into the pivot. And I have to learn a lot because I don't know the position. And even though I think it's in some ways easier, it's a lot more challenging. And I'm trying to just understand just moving around and catching the ball in a different way. The center backs are really tricky on how they just kind of drop it in there really quick and all the hands that are there. So really learning how to develop that skill. It's very
positioned in every play. And actually, when you watch handball from the outside, probably the first time in your sister's couch watching handball in 2008 Olympics, you thought, oh, it's a bunch of guys running almost with no sense, and it's a physical sport because you could see the guys, doing some contacts between each other, but you couldn't see the tactical way, the tactical side of the sport.
Yeah, so technical.
Yeah.
And these guys,
and now
they're so technical. They're so good. They're so smart. It's like, wow, this is a whole nother level. And specifically in like playing in USA, it's just leaps and bounds technically better.
Yeah, and now you can feel that, and as a pivot, for people who doesn't know about handball, it's a really, really important because sometimes you don't work for yourself, you work for the other guys, blocking, position yourself in some positions, but still you always have to be aware that the ball can come to you.
Exactly. Always be ready. So it's a lot, but it's, again, if I, so the goal is, how can I be valuable enough to make it on the team and stay on the USA team? And it doesn't mean I need to be the best player because there's a lot of players on the national team who are European that have a USA passport. There's very few kind of born Americans who live in America on the team. And in some ways, I feel like that's an advantage because I think that the coaching staff is going to want some Americans, like born true Americans, on the team. I hope, because I think it would be as sad if it was all Europeans who have a USA passport that speak different languages. Obviously, we need a lot of those guys because they have the skill, the quality, and they're going to help us win. But it would be a shame if they didn't have, a handful of American-born, American-living players. So we'll see.
Talking about your background and let's compare the sports. Are they comparable at all? American football and handball. So especially what Víctor just said, that the line player he makes movements for his teammates. So you do get that as a wide receiver as well. So you do get those routes where where you don't get the ball. So that is one parallel in between the two universes. Let's put it like that. But are there more crossovers?
Yeah, I played basketball in high school at a high level and college as well. So I was, a semi-elite basketball player, and there's similarities to that. But it's still different, though. It's like you almost have to train your brain to think differently, especially if you're playing as a back, because it's a lot of side to side. Whereas in basketball, you're kind of cutting in towards the basket or picking, but just the movements, the way you move your feet, it's all with the feet. It's just a little bit different. So it's like learning to train the brain in a different way. And sure, there's similarities with physicality, with athleticism, with sprinting, with jumping. But the technical side, like Víctor said, It's a different technical element that I don't think there's another sport like it in USA. Maybe soccer a little bit in terms of like going side to side and weaving in and out.
Football.
So much more, football. Sorry, well, not American football, European football, but it's but there's so much more space in European football. So it's a different. You're running a lot more bigger loops versus just the footwork has got to be so quick, and these guys are so tricky. They can just swim around you and just get right by you. If you don't have the right footwork, you're gone in a second. So you have to be so quick.
Yeah. After hearing your story, I have a couple of questions I want to make you. First of all, I've been in a holidays in Costa Rica a long time ago, and I just met this American couple. Somehow we ended up talking during the trip, and I just told them that they asked, "What do you do for a living?" And then I tried to explain them what handball was.
No one knows what it is.
That was challenging, That was challenging. And then they said, "Oh, okay, but are you professional?" I said, "Yes, but it's not like that big in Spain. Like people is stopping me on the streets and everything." Then we ended up stopping in a banana field in the middle of Costa Rica, and curiously, a Spanish family was there, and they asked for a picture because they knew me, and then they were just freaking out. Telling you this because I would like to know your opinion about how handball is growing in America since the World Championship was a big step forward, because USA national team, they won the first game in a World Championship. The national team is growing now. It has been a lot of changes in the federation, and I don't know if in the system. What's your opinion about the American handball right now?
Well, people still don't know what handball. Here's the good side is that the national team is getting better. I think they won 3 games at the World Championships, which they've never done before. The previous coach, Robert, is an amazing coach, a Swedish guy who just retired. They just hired a new coach this last week. But Robert did an amazing job for 7 years recruiting other great European athletes who had an American passport and developing the culture that way. Here's the problem, Victor. Imagine Spain wasn't good at handball, and a hypothetical situation that you guys didn't play handball, you guys weren't good, and the national team got good because they brought guys from Germany and France and Croatia and Poland to come in and play for the national team. No one in Spain would still know that they're good because there's no Spanish players playing. And that's what's happened with USA. They won 3 games at the World Championships, and no one heard about it in America. No one knows, no one cares, because they had 2 guys on the team who are actually Americans. Yes, all of them have a USA passport, but they don't have the spirit of an American. They don't live in America. They didn't grow up in America. Some of them never visited America. So when you have guys on a team who speak a different language, have a different culture, they're not coming into the USA spirit like an American. Now, again, we need a lot of those guys because they're better players. They've been playing since they're 7 or 8 years old. I started playing at 27. So there's no way I'm going to be able to compete with a guy who's had 20 more years developing as a kid with the tactics and the technicality of handball. But that's the challenge. They had, all this success. No one heard about it because, one, the guys aren't promoting it on social media. And if you don't have anyone you can look up to who's talking about it, who's getting in the press, who is sharing about it on social media to a USA audience, how are people going to hear about it? And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with the sport in America to help it grow, by documenting this entire journey, by sharing content constantly about my tournaments, about my trainings, about being in Spain. We had a tournament in Las Vegas for the Super Globe qualifier. I tried to recruit Víctor to come and play with us. I tried to get him out of retirement, but he didn't reply to me on Instagram about it when I asked him. And so we had
better get used to it.
Yeah, right. I was like, "Can you come out of retirement?" And so I'm trying to do my part. The USA Handball Federation is a very small nonprofit organization. There's very little funding from the Olympic Committee. There's only one sponsor right now, which is Verizon. And because the CEO, Hans, is from Sweden, is a big supporter of handball. So there's no money. The USOC doesn't support it that much. There's no awareness. There's no social media. There's no marketing. And so my whole vision is to bring awareness to the sport with my 20 million followers. I've got 20 million followers, most of them in USA, a lot globally as well. I've got one of the biggest podcasts in the world. It's top 30 in the world right now, almost every single day. I've got a massive social media platform, a big email list, a big YouTube channel, all these different platforms that I've been building for over a decade. And I have an ability to spread the message, to make content, to talk about it. And the goal is to use my platform to bring awareness, bring attention, bring excitement to the sport of handball leading into the Olympics, so that hopefully we can really start developing more youth programs, more awareness, potentially a league, a professional league. There's a few different people trying to build a professional league in America. It's very hard because there's no youth programs, so you can't develop talent to get into the league. So there's a lot of challenges that USA Handball has right now. We have a new president, Michael King. We have a new coach, Mark Ortega. And both of these guys are doing their best as American handball guys to move the sport forward. And I'm trying to help both the president, the board of the federation, now the new head coach, Mark Ortega, who just got signed to the new head coach a couple days ago, and say, hey guys, how can I be of value? How can I add my talents, my service, from marketing, from bringing sponsorship in, and hopefully from my athleticism. And if I'm not going to be the best player on the court, I can be a leader. I can bring the team together. I can bring a level of leadership and mindset training that a lot of these 21-year-olds don't have. Victor, you know, you play with a lot of young guys when you were older, and they've got the skill, they've got the talent, but the mindset or the attitude might be a little bit off. And finding a way, especially if we're going to have half of the team be European guys, maybe more. How do we bridge the gap between a guy from France, a guy from Spain, a guy from Germany, a guy from, all these different cultures, to making sure they're a part of the spirit of American culture when they're representing the national team? Because you can have talent, Victor, you know this, but if guys don't come together and you don't form a relationship and don't form a bond, you're not going to play well. You might play well for a half, but things break down. You start pointing fingers. You start, whatever. It's not my country. Who cares? But when I wear USA across the chest, I have goosebumps every time. And I fight until the end. I fight for that respect. I fight for the pride. Even if we lose, there's a mindset behind it. And if you don't live in America, or if you don't have that same American spirit, you may not want to fight as much. You may be more individualistic versus team versus country. And that's my goal, is trying to bring that spirit to the national team.
So there is a lot that you're bringing with you. There's a lot of effort that you already put into your handball life. And since it's been 17 years already since you first discovered the sport, you probably have, or you hopefully have noticed that things have changed in the US, ? Because you say back then there was a couple of clubs around, but that's not normally how the US sports system works. So usually you go through school, you play high school basketball, high school football, high school baseball, whatever, move on into college, and then make it to become a pro eventually. But then on the other hand, how does it work with handball, and has it developed already?
Handball is decades behind in America. And there's a few people that are doing a really great job. Again, the manager of the New York City club, his name is Beanie. He's does an amazing job because he hosts camps for hundreds of kids in the summer of New York City, handball camps. And there's another guy in Columbus, Ohio, that's doing this at the collegiate level for all the universities. He's helping universities start handball clubs at the college level, so 18 to 22-year-olds, which again is kind of later in their athletic development. But the thing with American athletes, there's so much talent athletically. When I would go to, I could go down the street in Los Angeles and I play pickup basketball a lot. There are just freak athletes that are just 360 dunking that you've never even heard of, that are just freaks of nature, that never even went to college, that are just great basketball players and athletes that are more athletic than most of the handball players in the world, but they don't know handball, right? They can jump higher, they can run faster, all those things, but they don't have the technical skill and the experience. And everyone says, like, man, we have the best athletes in the world. If we played handball, we'd be great. But you can't start a sport at 25 and be the best. You just can't. Victor, you probably started when you were, 7, 9? I don't know. How old were you? 8. I hit the middle, right? Right in the middle.
Good
8
guesses.
years old. And I come in at 28 and you go to 8. That's 20 years swing. Now, I might be a good athlete in football and baseball and basketball. So it's not that I have no skills when I start playing, but it takes time. And when the youth is not developed, it's hard to just get guys when they're 18 to 24. Everyone finds handball during the Olympics and they say, wow, what is this? This is amazing. I want to start playing. And then they look online and they say, how do I find it in my city? And they don't have it in their city. I had to move across the country to go learn the sport because I was that curious. I was that passionate about it. And I was excited. Most people aren't going to leave their hometown, go to New York City or some other city and play where you practice once a week, maybe. And you play 4 tournaments a year. That is the state of handball in USA. You maybe play a tournament once every couple of months. You maybe practice once a week if you get enough guys together. And it's usually mostly European guys who have moved over that found a club in the city and they want to keep playing. And so that is the challenge. Without the funding of creating the youth developmental programs, we're always going to be behind. And so my goal is to, these next 3-4 years, create enough attention and awareness where that come LA 2028, there is content, there is storytelling, there is excitement around it that we've never seen before. And hopefully we can perform well enough that now the Olympic Committee says, hey, we got to change this. We need handball to be a top sport in America. And maybe it takes 20 years. I started in the 80s, in the late 80s, I started playing football.
It's
European
fine.
European football. And it was like just starting in America. It was like, okay, we're going to get some fields. I lived in Ohio. They got fields. They got some goals and some balls. But they had it all over the country. But that was 40 years ago, almost, 35 years ago. And USA is still not at the level of European countries in football, in European football. Maybe 20 years. If we started with the youth programs, maybe we'd be able to really be competitive, maybe a top 15, top 20, top 10 nation, maybe in 20 years. If we got the funding, if we got youth programs in different cities. New York is doing a great job. Columbus is doing a great job. There's different cities doing it, but we need more big cities to be doing it. So hopefully come LA 2028, there will be enough where the U.S. Olympic Committee will help fund it. We'll get more sponsors. My goal is to bring sponsors to the USA national team as well. For myself personally as an athlete, I have a lot of sponsors on my podcast and things like that. But now I'm trying to brand myself as a handball player as well and get sponsorships for that type of content. And through that process, bring sponsors to the national team that has no money, no funding. Victor, you'll be surprised to hear this, but every international trip that I took with the national team, I paid my own flight.
You paid
almost all my own hotel. I mean, maybe a couple trips. My first trip, get this, Victor, my first trip on the national team is to Buenos Aires for the Pan Am Championships. And the first week, we have no money. They put all of us, I kid you not, we were in some old gymnasium practicing before the tournament. And they put us in the rafters up in like the attic. They had a room and they put cots 16 cots, little mats, and we were all side by side. We had to walk a half a mile to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night in the gym because they couldn't afford a hotel for us. And I'm like, what is going on? But I didn't care because I was playing with the national team. But there's no funding. And so I've always paid my own way, and I'm happy to pay because I love the sport. Again, I've never made any money from this. I've always paid. I'm traveling around the world right now in Spain. My wife's pregnant. I've got my business back at home. This is not a convenient thing to do. But for me, the dream is so alive in my heart that I feel like I'll regret it if I don't at least go for it. So I'm willing to do what it takes and hopefully bring value to the national team, to the sport. I'm still learning. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning from you guys. I'm listening to your podcast. I'm watching all the young guys teach me in Aymar to practice every day. I'm like soaking in as much as I can while I'm here. And I know it's a journey. So, and there's no guarantees.
Yeah, listening to you, I first would like to say it's just amazing that a person like you, with the platform that you worked your ass off to build, is involved to make the lovely sport of handball grow in America. Because I always had this discussion with some friends, but we also discussed this topic in the podcast with Stine Bredal Oftedal. That it would be great for handball that handball can grow in America, because marketing-wise, there is nobody like Americans, and we need the sport to be known all around, and I think nobody can do this better than Americans, But in the other hand, I want to tell you that as a handball player, there is nothing like defending your country in the Olympic Games. I was playing in Beijing, I was playing in London, and as experience, the whole thing, the Olympic Games is just unique. Is the best.
So tell me from your standpoint, Victor, if 10 of the 14 or 16 guys on the Spanish national team at the Olympics were from other countries that weren't Spanish, how would that have experience been like for you, and how would it have been received by the country as a whole, do you think?
I think it's difficult to talk about this hypothesis because it's difficult to put myself in this situation because handball here has been always a big sport. I think it's a mix of people that maybe would say they don't feel what's the word in English? They don't feel attached to the team, because of maybe the roots of some players. But also, if this team that it's full of players with the Spanish passport, but they lose all the games by 20, people is losing interest.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to find a balance, and I think that, as you said, if right now the system, there is no youth playing handball in America, so there is no way that you can have professional players living in America because the league, it's actually not existing. Somehow you have to start, and of course sometimes it's always, I think it's better to start from the foundings and then build a house up to the roof. But in this case, it's the other way around, But I just wanted to tell you that listening to you and listening that you want to bring all these things to the American handball, to the sport in America. What's the plan now? Because right now you are in León, you are in Spain, in a place that it breathes handball history. It's been great games and great players that played in that team, in that club. What's the plan from now on until 2028?
Well, so once I went to the Olympics, it was 1 year ago to this week that handball was happening at the Olympics. I think Denmark won yesterday, a year ago or 2 days ago. I think Gitzel posted about winning it a year back, a couple of days ago. And so I created a plan from that moment. And for me, it's 1 year at a time. If I think of okay, here's the plan for the next 4 years, lots of things can change. And I said, okay, what am I going to do this next year? So the moment that I was at the Olympics, I called coaches. I called Danny Gordo. He connected me to the Barcelona coach who was there coaching with Japan. And so I met with him at the Olympics. And I started asking around and saying, where can I start to train? And I made a game plan for a year. And there's a lot happening in my life and my business. My wife is pregnant. I had a book launch that came out a couple months ago. I was training to get back in shape. I had a lot of commitments in Los Angeles that I needed to be at. And so I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 8 months from the Olympics to start training. And so I started really going into intense rehab every week, intense training, intense nutrition, etc. But in the meantime, I got married, pregnant, book launch, speaking, all these things I had commitments. And so I said, in May, I will start the training and I'll go to Ademar in León in Spain. And so that was a few months ago. And so everything was gearing up to train for 1 month in Spain to see, is this even possibility? I did the month in Spain and it was an awesome experience. It was the last month of the season for the guys. I was there practicing. And then when I left, they went to the Cup and they got to Barcelona in the final. They lost, but the second half, I think they beat Barcelona in the second half, but they lost the game. And so it was cool to say, okay, I was just playing with a team for 1 month that was, beat Barcelona in the second half. They lost, but they were able to play with them, and they're a bunch of 21-year-olds, right? So for me, it was like, okay, that was good confidence builder. I could keep up in some ways. Like, sure, I'm making mistakes. I'm not perfect, all these things. But all right, I'm playing. I'm practicing with them. Okay, it was good for me. Then I had a tournament, the Super Globe qualifier. And so it was getting ready for that tournament. We won that tournament. Again, that was my first games in 6 years. So I just needed the reps. I needed practice reps. I needed some game reps. And then I said, okay, let me come back to Spain and do 4 friendly games. So we have 2 games tomorrow and then 2 games this weekend. And so I was like, I need to play now with Spain teams at a higher level than in America and see how that feels in some friendly games. Hopefully I'll get, 5 or 7 minutes a game. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And just see how that feels, getting more reps. Then the goal is we qualified for Super Globes. I'm still unsure if I'm going to be able to go because my wife's pregnant and she's due around that time. So it may be a last minute decision. I hope I can, but it may not happen. But if not, I've got the game plan for the rest of the year. There's really no games in America happening right now. There might be a couple of tournaments I'll play in on weekends, but Tijuana in Mexico has 4 teams and they're not bad. The Mexican national team is pretty good. They're tiny, but they're quick. And they kind of remind me like Spain and how they play, very fast. And so every Sunday they play a game. So I'll be traveling 7 hours from Los Angeles to Tijuana, Mexico, 3.5 hours there, 3.5 hours back every Sunday to play a game throughout the end of the year. And this is dead. So this is a lot of time, guys. This is like committing my life to a sport that has no guarantees, no money. It's painful. It's hard. And again, there's no guarantees of making the national team, of being in the Olympics, but that's for the rest of this year. And everything is trying to lead up into getting back on the national team, which is in May next year is International Week for America. And it's trying to get back on the team and then seeing what does that experience feel like getting back on the team and how am I playing at that level? And then we'll be 2 years away from the Olympics at that point. And I think I'll have a better understanding and I'll create a new game plan for the next year. Okay, what does this look like? Is this going to Europe every couple of months? Is this playing in Spain? Is this playing in, I was talking with Gitzel. He said, come and you can do some practices in Berlin, which I'm sure I'll get destroyed. But it's like getting that experience. Isaias is coaching in Germany. He said, you can come for a few weeks and practice and train with us. There's a lots of teams that are showing interest and saying, hey, just come practice with us, come train with us. Because from that process, I can create content. I can interview players. I can make stuff on social media and talk about the journey and keep creating awareness for my 20 million followers in America about, hey, what is this sport? What is Lewis doing? What is this crazy dream? Oh, cool. He's trying to go to the Olympics. Cool. Oh, at handball? What is that? Okay, cool. And I think if I can do that for the next 3 years consistently through the Olympics, come the Olympics, if I'm on the USA team, I will have created so much content and telling a story and hopefully getting people excited where they all say, oh, we've got to do something with handball now after the Olympics. We've got to change the culture in America and start investing in it. And that is my plan. That's my goal in helping be that support.
So to follow that journey and to follow that content journey, that story, you can follow Lewis on Instagram, Lewis House, just written together, no dots whatsoever. We're going to blend it into this podcast here. But there were so many interesting topics in what you have just been talking about. Let's start at International Week for America next year in May. What is that? How can we imagine an International Week for America?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that. That's just what I heard. The president told me that's the next chance for the national team playing. I think there's some qualifier. I can't remember what the qualifier is for. Some North American qualifying for something, I think, in early May. So I think there's something in October as well. But my wife is pregnant and she's expecting around that time, so I don't think I'll be able to play this October. But the next opportunity with the national team will be in May. So the goal is continue to play, practice, create content, and talk about the story. And I'm creating a long-form documentary series as well every month at youtube.com/greatness. So if you just search /greatness on YouTube, you can see my journey in Spain for the first month. I've got multiple videos there as well.
Cool. That sounds great. So it's not like in Europe where you meet up with the national team every month or two, but it's only like once a year.
Once a year, twice a year, maybe for a week. This is always how it is. It's like you get together. There's a tournament. You get together for maybe 5 days, maybe a week if you're lucky before, and train together. And then guys haven't played together in a year or two. Mm-hmm. And then you expect guys to get together who are multiple different nationalities to play and come together in 5 days. It's very tough. You know, Spanish guys, you guys got together, every couple months and sometimes for like a month at a time probably before bigger tournaments. So it's just a lot tougher because there's no funding to get us together. And I'm trying to support and bringing sponsors to help create that change.
So, yeah, go ahead, Victor.
Just wanted to ask, the first time you came to Spain, to León, to practice with the guys, you said some names when we started the recording, like Juan Castro and some of the guys. Who was the coach in that time in León?
It was Danny Gordo back then.
That was Danny, okay.
That's why we stayed in touch because a teammate of mine from New York City Handball Club, I told him, I was like, I think I want to go play in Europe. Like I need to go play at the next level because everyone was talking about how, big handball was in Europe. And I go, I'd love to go to Spain because I'm trying to speak Spanish and practice and all these different things. And he said, I know a guy, this is a German guy. He goes, I think I know a guy who knows a coach in Spain who might be able to have you. And I didn't even talk to him on the phone. He just said, yeah, come, here's the dates. And I just showed up to practice. And Danny has been, a supporter of mine. He's followed my journey on social media for the last 12 years and just stayed in touch on WhatsApp every couple of years. And when I said I was looking to get back into handball, he said, fly to León right now. I was in Paris watching the Olympics. He said, come here now and do a tryout and meet the president. And I left the Olympics early. I left like 2 days later and came to León. This is 1 year ago this week, I think. And and I walked around the town. I went to the arena and I was like, oh, I came here 12 years ago. And so it was all these memories coming back. And he said, come here. And they offered me a 4-year kind of flexible contract here. The president's been very generous. And anytime I want to come, I can come and practice here. But I also have other opportunities and places I could practice as well. So, and Danny has just been very generous, the coach. He's been very kind to want to see me succeed. He wants USA Handball to do well. He wants to see me succeed. And I'm grateful for that opportunity.
And how it has been for you with the language barrier to come in, communicate with the guys, also not only with the coach, also with the teammates, and
Yeah.
and
Well,
have
luckily,
they been able
my
have they
Spanish,
been able to
Yeah.
communicate with you, and you can understand where they want you to position as a pivot or something? How was the communication with the guys?
it's luckily a lot of the guys understand a lot of English now. I think the younger generation is starting to learn it more maybe than guys 12, 13 years ago. No one speaks as good as you do, Victor, but some
Thank
of them
you.
are pretty close. And so a few of the guys speak pretty good English. I speak maybe 30% Spanish. My wife's Mexican, and cuando tú hablas lento conmigo, entiendo 50%. Pero the
Nice.
accent in Spain is so fast and so different that I'm like, what did you just say? But she speaks very slowly and like clean Spanish to me, and from Mexico, where it's the accent. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are saying. So Danny, the coach, he speaks pretty good English, so he'll speak in Spanish. I understand a lot, and then he'll just explain it really quickly to me, or I'll ask a guy, or I'll just watch. I'll just watch and see what's the play? Okay, I'm just going to follow the pivot, and I'm going to jump in now and practice and do this. And so it's just trying to watch and mimic.
Yeah, interesting. It is super interesting. So there's a lot that you put into work for the US handball, and the perspective for now is 2028. But the world goes on after 2028. So if we look a little further into the future, as Victor has just mentioned, we have been having a podcast with Stine Breda Loftadal as well, and have been talking about her project together with Nikola Karabatic, Mikkel Hansen, and Estavana Polman. Project Pro Handball USA.
Yeah.
So
Mads is helping run that. Do you guys know Mads? Have you talked to him yet?
Mads Winter, yes, I know him.
So he came to my office, my studio in Los Angeles 2-3 weeks ago. We've been in contact. He just texted me the other day. He's trying to bring a professional league, and I think it's great. There's another group of investors in Los Angeles that are trying to create their own league and their own thing as well. People have been talking about this since 2017 or 2008, since I started learning about handball. I've been hearing people say, we need to start a pro league. And I've been approached, I don't know, 5 or 6 times in the last decade to be involved as an investor, as a marketer, into helping launch a league. But no one has the funding. No one has the leadership in order to make it happen. People have ideas and they talk a big game, but no one's willing to go all in. And it's risky. It's a big risk. But it looks like Mads has got a good game plan. We'll see. We'll see from an outsider coming in what he can do. And I think he's got a good plan of first doing a tournament and bringing like a week-long tournament with top pro teams. I think it's cool. And so we'll see what happens.
That's planned for 26, right?
Yeah, next year, I think. So I hope it does well. I mean, the more handball players that come and the more teams and the more games that happen, I think it's great for the sport. So however I can help add value, I'm doing my best.
I mean, the way that you've been talking about the Americans and the pro athletes that run around basically everywhere in each and every city. Do we as Europeans need to be afraid that we maybe raised Thanos there?
I know, right? I mean, listen, who knows? Anything can happen in 5 to 10 years, but you really need great leadership to start youth development programs nationwide. Maybe you could get away with it for a few cities and start developing great talent in Los Angeles or New York, and you could really start to create a good team that could be competitive in 10, 15 years from a youth developmental program. But in order for the country to really thrive, you need it in schools. You need it in elementary schools, middle school, high school, college. You need it for people to be able to play in their city. And you need great leadership. You need a collection of leaders who want to invest in the sport, to plant seeds under shade they may never get to sit under trees they may not get to sit under in the future. This is thinking so far in the future of, how do I invest my time, my money, my resources, my life to something that I may not benefit from in the future? And that's a risky thing to do in anything. And I may not benefit from this. It's like I'm investing my time, my money, my energy, my life into traveling, training, practicing, creating content for a sport. There's no guarantees that I get back on the national team next year. I hope so. There's no guarantees I make the Olympic team. I hope so. But there's no guarantees. And I'm just that type of person, Victor, I don't know if you're similar, that if something is on my heart and on my mind so often, that's speaking to me, that's screaming at me or whispering at me, telling me, you got to do this. You got to keep going. Like if I denied that voice and I said, shut up, like get away from me, I just think I would live with regret forever. So for me, I can't live like that. And I feel like I'm called to do this. And that's just part of the journey for me. But you need a lot of leaders who are willing to invest in something they may not see the reward for a long time.
Yeah, that's actually what has just been running through my mind, because as you've been telling us, around 2008 there was an injury around your wrist, what ended your American football career. But obviously, you're still keen to compete on the very, very highest level.
Yes.
And handball, well, I wouldn't say that it's even more physical than the life as a wide receiver in American football, but it probably comes close. So it's probably comparable at all. And then on the other side, I'm wondering, was there never for you the urge to return to American football?
There was. I had offers to come back, but I wasn't playing in the NFL. I was playing in the Arena Football League. So it's indoor. It's like in a hockey arena indoors. And I was only making $1,000 a month. And so for me, the whole dream was to go play professional football and get paid to play, which I got to do. Then I wanted to go to the NFL. I had NFL tryouts, but I didn't make a team. And so after getting injured, it was a 1.5 year recovery, 6 months in a cast, then another year recovering from the elbow because I didn't get to straighten my elbow for 6 months. It was in this position. So my arm was pretty weak and my wrist doesn't really bend back, which is not good for handball because I'm right-handed. So I'm not able to use my wrist like a lot of the guys here in Spain do. So I'm limited in certain things that I can do. But I got offers to go back. I thought about it, but I didn't want to go make $1,000 a month with the risk of getting injured again, knowing that it was going to be that much harder to the NFL. And I'd missed a couple years. It just would have been too hard. These guys in the NFL are so good. So for me, I got to live that dream and I didn't feel called to go play football again. I felt like the new dream emerged with handball.
It does sound like there is one unique message that you want to spread the word about. So what's your message?
I'm not sure what you're alluding to, but my message is to live your dreams. I think when we have a dream, you become a greater version of yourself. I don't think I would be in this good a shape, this consistent, have the routines and the dedication that I do now. And so I'm becoming a version of myself that I aspire to be in the process. Win or lose, make the team or not, go to the Olympics or not, like, sure, I'll be sad if it doesn't happen. And I'm not thinking it's not going to happen. But I know I'm becoming a better version of myself. And my goal is to inspire the little boy inside of me that watched the Olympics every year in awe, and to be a hero to my younger self, and to make sure I didn't let my younger self down by giving up on something just because it's hard, just because it takes a lot of time, just because it takes a lot of money, just because there's no guarantees. It doesn't mean it's not worth fighting for, not worth pursuing. And I feel like I'm a better human being when I have a dream to pursue. It doesn't mean everyone needs to have some crazy big dream to go to the Olympics or change the world or cure cancer, but it could be, how can I have the best relationship in my life when my relationships aren't working? Or how can I start pursuing a career that really fuels my soul more, where I can make a bigger impact on the people around me? And I think I want to help inspire people. And I know that the odds are against me. I'm 42. I'll be 45 at the Olympics. I'm not sure, Victor, how many 45-year-olds, except for maybe a couple goalies, play in the Olympics in handball.
Not many.
Yeah, maybe a couple goalies play in the late 40s, but
you don't even have to exclude it for handball. Generally, Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, what a great story it would be for my childhood self to be able to, as an adult self, to kind of bring that full circle dream for really 40 plus years of my life since I saw the Olympics for the first time. To be able to do it in my hometown now. I've lived in Los Angeles for 13 years. To be able to do it when I have kids who will be able to watch this. For me, my whole life in my business is called the School of Greatness. It's about empowering people to become better human beings. And I want to be able to be an inspiration to people. I want to be an inspiration to people around the world, but specifically in America, to remind people to pursue a better life, to pursue their dreams, and to make sure they don't let themselves down. And so that's part of my mission.
That's exactly the warm words that I searched for to end this podcast. So you understood the assignment perfectly. And just like, even though he's Canadian, big Wayne Gretzky once said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So yeah, Víctor, some closing words from your side.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I don't know what you guys think, but just listening to you, Luis, when you have a dream and you have passion for something, sometimes you lose a little bit the sense of reality or the sense of what makes sense and what don't make sense, you know, and sometimes you act only for passion and only for chasing your dreams. And if you think closely, sometimes you do some things that you would never do if you wouldn't have a dream and if you wouldn't have a passion. And listening to you, it's pretty clear that you are very passionate about this journey. I'm just eager to follow you in the next steps. And I just want to say thank you because you're using your resources and your platform to make our sport grow. And we need more people like you in handball. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. And I'm grateful for you for, being in the Olympics the year that I first saw it and creating that spark for me. So if I'm in 2028 Olympics on the national team, hopefully you're there so we can bring that full circle 20-year moment together.
Hopefully we can do it.
And then we'll do another episode on the spin talking about
yes, we have to do that.
Exactly that. It was amazing. It was an awesome talk with you, Luis. So thanks once again.
One final thing before we close out. Anyone listening or anyone watching to this that can add value in any way or wants to reach out to me directly, feel free to email me. Feel free to DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever you want to reach out. If you can add value to the USA national team in any way, to my journey in any way, if anyone wants to talk to me more about this, I'm available. I really don't do many interviews. I get requests to do interviews on big podcasts all the time in America, but I don't make time for them because I've got my own show. But I'm willing to do more stuff around handball because I'm so passionate about this, even though I don't know how many people listen to this, but I was like, I want to be on it because I think this is the biggest handball show there is. So for me, anyone listening or watching, if you've got contacts or anyone at the IHF or anyone listening in higher positions, please reach out because I want to get connected to people in the sport, in the business of the sport. I want to go to the Final Four next year. I want to go to the bigger tournaments and just meet people. So Víctor, maybe you can introduce me to people in the future if we're at tournaments together or you guys think wherever I should be, let me know. I want to get involved more.
Sounds great. So the open invitation is here in the podcast whenever you're around next year for the Final Fours in Cologne or in Budapest. Make sure to hit us up. Will be great to have a beer with you and have a little more chat about handball because it was great talking to you. Thanks once again and thanks for tuning in into this week's episode of The Spin. We talk handball and we'll hear each other again the next time when it's time to talk handball again, everybody.
Ball across to Dylan. Now he double in flight. Oh, what a start.
Ooh, into the net.
She does it again.
Yes. Van Bengt on the champion.